the Silent Forest, the very name of which sounds like the plot of some horror movie. But here's the catch. In reality, everything is much scarier than in any movie. For decades, dozens of people have disappeared here without a trace. No bodies, no clues, no explanations. Why does this forest seem to have its own will to hide the truth? In this video, you'll find out. Is there a place in the world where people just vanish into thin air? Dozens of cases have been recorded in one forest alone. What are the secrets of the Silent Forest, and why shouldn't you ever go there? Keep watching to find out. The Silent Forest got its name from the fact that all sounds seem to be absorbed by it, swallowed up by its dense thickets and bizarre ravines. It seems like this place was made to test human nerves. It feels like you are inside a huge amphitheater, where nature herself is waiting for you to make a mistake and then pounce like a hungry beast, as if the trees, bushes, and stones are watching you intently, ready to pounce at any moment. Geographically, the Silent Forest is located in Central Europe. Its exact location is kept secret to prevent curious adventurers from coming to the forest. The area is about 640 square kilometers. The climate is temperate, continental, with cold winters and warm summers. The terrain is mostly hilly, with many ravines and rocks, so it's incredibly difficult to navigate here. If you add to this the numerous bends of the river running through the forest, you'll get a perfect place for someone to hide. The first written mention of the forest dates back to the 17th century. There were rumors that robbers hid in its thickets. However, over time, these stories began to be replaced by something more mystical. In 1944, for example, the crew of a U.S. Army Air Force's bomber disappeared over the forest. They were flying from their base in England to their destination, when suddenly the plane veered off course and crashed. The debris was found 2 days later, but there was no sign of the crew anywhere. And this is far from the only case. For several decades now, from 1944 to 2018, 27 people have mysteriously disappeared in this area. Some were vacationers who went hiking, others were pilots whose planes crashed. Yet others simply decided to take a walk in the woods and never returned. This includes a couple from Belgium who went missing in 2017 while taking pictures. Despite massive searches, neither the tourists nor their belongings were ever found. It's frightening to realize that in the 21st century, people can just vanish into thin air. All the more so because this doesn't happen just once, but repeatedly and over a long period of time. Even law enforcement officials were puzzled by these crimes. The police suspect that a criminal gang may be operating in the forest that kidnaps passers-by and transports them to a secret location, but no evidence of such activity has ever been uncovered. Some investigators suggest that the missing people fall victim to wild animals, but this hypothesis isn't supported by any facts either. In particular, there are no traces of predators and wild beasts near the places where the people disappeared. And the locals claim that the forest is home to only peaceful animals and birds. So what actually happens in the Silent Forest? To begin with, let's look at the most shocking cases that have happened here in recent years. In May of 2017, for example, an entire family vanished without a trace: a husband, wife, and their 2 young children. Before the tragedy, the parents posted photos on social networks showing the kids playing on the banks of the Luzerne River, which flows through the Silent Forest. Since then, nothing has been known about them. The last message from the family was dated May 12th. The couple said they were going to spend the night at a campsite near the river. The next day, they were to check into a hotel in Nuremberg, but they never arrived. Only the car was found parked near the village of Vojvodina. That's where the search teams began looking for the missing people. 2 weeks later, divers searched the riverbed, but the traces of the family were lost. By the way, that same river was also mentioned in one of the oldest local legends. According to her, it was cursed many years ago, and anyone who set foot on it would suffer terribly. In July of 2017, The forest claimed another victim. This time, it was a 22-year-old man. The guy decided to go for a swim in the Luzerne River, but he didn't know that there were practically no beaches here. He jumped into the water and immediately drowned. His body was found only 3 months later. The young man's friends claimed that he was an excellent swimmer and it's unlikely he would have drowned if he had unencountered some underwater obstacle. And these are far from all the sad stories that have happened in the forest. One day, an elderly German woman named Maria went mushroom picking here with her dog. When she came to her senses, the basket with the mushrooms was gone, as was the dog. The woman tried to scream, but her voice seemed to have been taken away along with the rest of her things. She was only able to run out of the forest in her underwear. A passerby who saw her state called the police. The woman was taken to the hospital with obvious signs of hysteria. But as it turned out, later, the old woman really had picked up some poisonous mushrooms and simply went mad. There's another story about how 2 hunters went into the forest, but only one of them came out. There was blood on his clothes, and he kept saying that there was another hunter somewhere in the forest who wanted to kill him. The man was taken to the psychiatric hospital, but before that, he managed to tell the police that there was a whole tribe of killers in the silent forest. So maybe the hunter wasn't mad at all. After all, there is a version that there is a whole clan of maniacs living in the silent forest who kill everyone who accidentally stumbles upon their territory. These terrible tales are told by people who have seen unusual things in the forest with their own eyes. Thus, several tourists reported seeing humanoid figures moving between the trees. Others claim to have heard strange sounds, whispers, knocks, screams. Some believe that this is the whisper of the souls of people who died in the forest and could find peace. And there are rumors that once in a while there's a sudden, absolute silence in the forest. At such moments, every rustle of leaves, every cry of a bird seems deafening. In addition, tourists complain that they constantly feel like they're being watched. They also say that their compasses don't work in the forest and GPS devices lose signal. And cell phones sometimes show a completely different location than where they actually are. Perhaps the most terrifying thing is that all the people who disappeared in the forest did so without a trace, literally. Their cars were found in parking lots. Backpacks with food and other personal belongings were left on the paths, and their tents were pitched at campsites. Everything indicated that the people had rested here and then continued on their way, except they never reached their destination. Search teams combing through the area also failed to uncover any evidence of the missing person's whereabouts. The French police even brought in sniffer dogs, but they refused to pick up any trail from the missing person. If you decide to visit the Silence Forest, you should know that getting lost here is not uncommon. Even experienced hikers can get disoriented here and wander around in circles for hours. Sometimes the terrain suddenly changes and the landscape becomes impassable. There are deep ravines, steep cliffs, swift mountain rivers, and thickets of thorny bushes. A person who finds himself in these places without proper survival skills and equipment stands practically no chance. To prevent this from happening, the park administration has installed warning signs at the entrances to the forest, posting messages about the dangers that threaten tourists. The main rule they warn visitors is never to enter the forest alone. But even this precaution doesn't guarantee safety. As for the supernatural theories about the forest, scientists brush them aside as unfounded speculation. Rangers say that the silent forest does have natural death traps, and some people lose their lives there, but they insist that their bodies would eventually turn up. Meanwhile, search teams have been combing through the area for years, uncovering nothing but a few bones and pieces of clothing. I wonder what you think about it. Do you believe that the silent forest is just a naturally dangerous place? Or is there really a mysterious force behind the disappearances? Please comment and share your thoughts.